Some garden fences take years to fill in. You plant them with care. You water them. You wait through one season, then another. And still, the space between plants stays thin and open. It can feel slow, even a little disappointing. But then, in another part of the garden, something very different happens. A row of plants that once looked small and simple begins to spread. Within just a few weeks, the gaps soften. Leaves touch. The space feels fuller, almost without effort. Here is the surprising part. The fastest growing living fences are often not the ones people choose first. In fact, many gardeners avoid them because they don't look impressive in the beginning. Over time, patterns start to appear. After watching different plants grow across many seasons, one thing becomes clear. Speed in the garden is not always where we expect it. If this feels confusing, that's very common. There are simple, legal plants that can form a dense, natural fence much faster than expected. Not overnight, but much sooner than most people think. Before explaining why this happens, it helps to understand something many gardeners are not told clearly. Bamboo is often the first plant people think about when they want a fast-growing fence. And it's true, some types of bamboo can grow quickly. In the right conditions, it can shoot up in height faster than many other plants. But there is another side to bamboo that is easy to miss in the beginning. Many types of bamboo spread underground. Their roots travel quietly, sometimes far beyond the area where they were planted. After a few seasons, new shoots may appear where they were never expected. This can become difficult to manage. Some gardeners find themselves trying to control bamboo instead of enjoying it. In certain places, some types are even restricted because of how aggressively they spread. The problem is not just how fast bamboo grows. It is how it grows. Speed alone is not always helpful if the plant becomes hard to control later. A good living fence is not only about growing quickly. It also needs to stay where you want it, fill in evenly, and remain easy to care for over time. That leads to a more helpful question. What actually makes a plant grow fast in a useful way? It may seem like sunlight or water would be the main answer. And while those are important, the real reason is often something deeper. Growth begins at the roots. Some plants focus their energy below the soil first. They build strong root systems. They spread outward quietly, preparing for what comes next. At first, these plants may not look impressive. Their leaves stay small. Their height changes slowly. It can seem like nothing is happening, but underground, they are preparing. Then, after some time, something shifts. The plant begins to use that stored energy. New growth appears more quickly. Side branches form. Leaves fill in the empty spaces. Other plants behave differently. They grow upward first. They may become tall, but stay narrow. This can create a fence that looks thin, even after a long time. This is why some fast-growing plants can feel disappointing. They grow, but not in the way that creates privacy or fullness. Once this pattern is understood, it becomes easier to choose plants that fill space, not just reach upward. There are a few plants that do this especially well in the early stages. Some shrubs begin spreading from the base almost immediately after planting. Instead of growing tall first, they expand outward. This helps close the gaps between plants much sooner. Others send out multiple stems from the root. These stems grow together, creating a thicker appearance in a shorter time. In the first few weeks, the change may still seem small. But then, the shape begins to soften. The hard lines between individual plants begin to disappear. A simple row starts to feel like one continuous hedge. Some gardeners notice this change almost suddenly. One day, there are spaces. A short time later, the spaces are less noticeable. This is not because the plant suddenly changed. It is because the early root work has reached a point where visible growth can begin. These early performers are helpful, but they are only part of the picture. There is another group of plants that many people overlook. These plants do not look fast in the beginning. In fact, they can seem slow or even unremarkable when first planted. Their leaves may be small. Their structure may look simple. They do not stand out in a nursery. Because of this, many gardeners walk past them. But these plants have a quiet advantage. They grow steadily, without spreading out of control. They stay where they are planted. And over time, they begin to fill in more than expected. This is where a small discovery often happens. After a short period, the change becomes visible. The plant begins to branch more. New leaves appear along the stems. The space becomes denser. What once looked plain now looks full. And importantly, these plants remain manageable. They do not send roots far beyond their area. They respond well to light trimming. They keep their shape without constant effort. This balance between growth and control is what makes them so useful. Still, even with the right plant, some fences remain thin. And this often comes down to a simple misunderstanding. Spacing. Many gardeners place plants too far apart. It seems logical at the time. Giving plants more space feels like giving them room to grow. But when plants are too far apart, they take longer to connect. Each plant grows on its own, instead of forming a shared canopy. In some cases, the plants may grow tall before they grow wide. This creates height without fullness. A fence that looks tall but still allows light and wind to pass through. Closer spacing can help plants work together. Their branches meet sooner. Their leaves overlap. The overall effect becomes thicker in less time. Early care also plays a role. Gentle watering, consistent but not excessive, helps roots settle. Too much water can slow root development. Too little can delay growth. It is not about doing more. It is about doing just enough at the right time. Another important factor is where the garden is located. Climate changes everything. In warmer areas, plants often grow faster. The soil stays warm longer. The growing season is extended. This allows roots to stay active for more months of the year. In cooler climates, growth may be slower at first, but something interesting can happen. Plants may grow more compact and dense. The slower pace can lead to a thicker structure over time. Wind also affects growth. Strong winds can dry out leaves and soil. This can slow the filling process. Soil quality matters as well. Loose, well-draining soil helps roots spread more easily. Heavy soil can slow this movement. Sunlight plays its role too. Some plants need full sun to grow quickly. Others prefer partial shade and may struggle in direct light. The same plant can behave very differently depending on these conditions. This is why it helps to observe rather than expect identical results. With this understanding in place, the remaining plants become easier to recognize. There are many options that quietly outperform bamboo in a practical way. Some are evergreen shrubs that hold their leaves year-round. They provide consistent coverage and grow steadily without spreading beyond their space. Others are flowering shrubs that add color while also forming a dense hedge. Their growth may not seem fast at first, but over time they fill in beautifully. There are also soft-stemmed plants that grow quickly during warm months. They can create a temporary screen that becomes fuller each season. Climbing plants can be used along simple supports. They rise and spread at the same time, covering vertical space efficiently. Some grasses form clumps rather than spreading. They grow upward and outward together, creating a soft but full barrier. Each of these plants offers a slightly different advantage. Some focus on speed. Others focus on density. Some provide seasonal change. Others remain steady all year. The key is not choosing the fastest plant alone, but choosing one that matches the space and conditions. Over time, these plants form a natural boundary. Not forced, but guided. Before planting, there is one more gentle point to keep in mind. Fast-growing plants still need attention, but not in a heavy or constant way. Some may need light trimming to keep their shape. This helps maintain a neat appearance and encourages fuller growth. Roots should also be considered. Even well-behaved plants can spread if ignored for many years. Keeping an eye on their growth helps avoid surprises later. It is also helpful to check local guidelines. Some areas have rules about certain plants. This is not always strict, but it is worth knowing. Planning ahead reduces the need for correction later. And in most cases, simple observation is enough. Over time, many gardeners notice something quiet but important. The garden often improves when less is done. Choosing the right plant from the beginning reduces the need for constant care. Once the plant is settled, it begins to follow its natural pattern. Growth becomes steady. The fence begins to form on its own. Instead of adjusting every small detail, it becomes more helpful to watch. To notice how the plant responds to the seasons. To see where it fills in and where it needs a little support. This kind of gardening feels calmer, more natural. If you're comfortable sharing, I'm curious what kind of plants you have tried for fencing and how they have responded over time. Sometimes the small observations we share can help others see their gardens more clearly. In the end, a living fence is not built all at once. It grows quietly, day by day. And often, the best results come not from doing more, but from choosing wisely and allowing the garden to settle. Sometimes the garden improves when we simply step back and observe.